If you're a New Yorker and you're interested in finding a space like this in your community, it's very likely that this type of space already exists. It's all about taking a leap of faith and doing a little bit of research to see that these places already exist all around us.
So the overall goals have always been creating a space of mentorship, leadership, and resources for women and genderqueer folks of color, and that looks in different forms. So thinking early on, it was a lot about storytelling and showcasing who's in this space, whether it's an athlete, whether it's a guide, whether it's just this is how they connect within their community or their land, to also just creating space for community to just be.
My reason for joining or just being affiliated with Brown Girls Climb was mostly that it felt like a place where I would feel safer outdoors, especially because being a woman of color, being a Black woman, being outdoors, there's not that much representation. And when you look at the sport or activity of climbing, there's fewer and fewer people of color and few women of color. And so Brown Girls Climb was a way to, see myself represented and feel safe and a part of a larger community.
My name is Brittany Leavitt. I am the co-founder and executive director of the national organization Brown Girls Climb. Currently, we are in a community garden space called Cooper Street Community Garden in Bushwick, which is in Brooklyn, New York. I was introduced to nature as a child. I grew up in Lanham, Maryland, great old PG County, where actually there's quite a bit of nature there. So even though it's close to Washington, D.C. area, you are super close to Shenandoah, you're close to nature trails, the Anacostia River, Potomac River, and much more. My grandmother had a farm in upstate New York, so we would spend summer times up there. So I'd be the kid running around barefoot, collecting bugs to our backyard at home, where I would just help out my parents gardening, to being a Girl Scout. And so I really got an early exposure to nature. At a point in time, I actually thought I was going to be a naturalist, which is someone who teaches people about nature. And I actually dressed up as a naturalist for Career Day. So my first climb was in Safe Harbor, which is in Pennsylvania. And it was in the mid of winter. It was my first ever top roping outside, anything outside. And I actually got scared halfway through the climb and needed my friend to bring me back down. Because at that point I didn't understand the concept of climbing. I just knew you would go up. I didn't understand movement or technique, but it took me a bit to find my groove with it. Because at the time I was climbing with people who were very heavier into the climbing scene and not as gentle.
My name is Sidra Hamdani. I was pretty scared of climbing, especially high walls. But I think in terms of getting over that fear is taking baby steps and just showing these are the things that we can, these are the precautions we can take to make sure that everyone's safe. And I think with Brown Girls Climb, what's great about it is that, especially if you're a beginner climber, they'll walk you through each step of the way. People that I've seen that take other people climbing, they push them too far, and I think this group is great because it's very welcoming, and it's whatever your pace is, they'll follow that.
The type of community that Brown Girls Climb has built within over almost the last decade, it can look very different. It can be a space for a calming and chill community. I think it's just a space folks are able to just show up with their own identity and or be able to branch out from their identity. So maybe they were someone that was always quiet and shy, and now they have a space of community.
My name is Amara. I've been climbing for about 3 years. I got introduced to Brown Girls Climb through my sister. She found a community, and then I just joined in, and it felt really fun to be around people of similar ethnicity, culture. I feel like it makes you feel more included because in the climbing community, I feel like brown girls are underrepresented. So just feeling a sense of community, feels like you belong, and it feels like you're part of a community. You can introduce climbing to like other young people that might not even know about it, because when I was younger, I had no idea about climbing.
And also noting, like, if you're someone that already climbs in the gym, sometimes having that experience of like just being in nature and moving your body, like just complete 180, just feels so good. And also doing it within community. Friend Betty, who actually started the Instagram at the time, is DMing folks who are already established in the outdoor industry. And so at that time, I was already working as an instructor with REI, and I was also a leader with another national organization called Outdoor Afro. So I was already kind of out there doing a lot of like community building and things. And so they reached out to me because they were in the DC area wanting to like come together and have a meetup. And so we came together and I was like, oh yeah, that's what I already do. We came together and I learned just about what her goal was, which at that time was like really collecting women of color stories in the outdoors, and not just here in the States, but around the world, and to kind of showcase like how we have a presence in the climbing and mountaineering space. We had our first meetup in person, and it was just me, Betty, and one other person climbing. And then that's kind of where we were like, this could be a thing. Had a debrief, we realized like, yeah, this could be a much bigger thing / a much more important and needed space within the community.
Hello, I'm Jasmine. I also go by Jazz out on the rocks. I use they, them pronouns. And we are out here in Peterskill. I am a member of Brown Girls Climb, a new leader with Brown Girls Climb in the East Coast and West Coast Colorado region. And yeah, I'm an artist, filmmaker, outdoor explorer, lover of life. An ever-evolving relationship with the outdoors. Yeah, I grew up in Colorado, so was amongst all things recreation, camping, snowboarding, river rafting, snowshoeing, everything. I was doing it all at a very early age. But it wasn't until I moved to New York and started to find community that I developed my own relationship with the outdoors that felt really unique to me and unique to the people that I was learning to become myself with. And it wasn't until I moved back to Colorado that I became friends with Betty, Maggie, another Brown Girls Climb leader, and we started climbing outside. My, I guess, courage and autonomy within the outdoors really started to solidify, and yeah, it just continued. And today I would say, yeah, my relationship is one of still learning, but also in this place of offering guidance and like mentoring and sharing my knowledge with other people. And of course, yeah, ever like lifelong student.
My name is Chaya Harris. My pronouns are she, her. I am a daughter and a sister and an auntie and a kayak instructor and an executive director and Brittany's best friend, or one of them. And I love the outdoors. I have known Brittany since more or less the inception of Brown Girls Climb, and it's just been so inspiring. When I go outside and spend time in nature, I always feel better. So it might be a healing experience. It might be learning something about myself.
Hi, my name is Cindy Sue. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a Boston-based local Brown Girls Climb leader. I can be myself, that I can make mistakes without being criticized, and people are willing to hear me out, and I want to be able to create that for other people too. So really changed my life. And that's how I got involved with Brown Girls Climb, because I went there and I was like, I want to get involved. I want to bring Brown Girls Climb to Boston.
I'm Rachel Louise Elliott. I am a multidisciplinary designer focusing on interior architecture, textiles, and furniture, and I live in Brooklyn, New York. My reason for joining or just being affiliated with Brown Girls Climb was mostly that it felt like a place where I would feel safer outdoors. Brown Girls Climb was a way to see myself represented and feel safe and a part of a larger community.
There is this innate connection that people have with nature, and we know this through indigenous culture and through like just how Indigenous folks have taken care of the earth. So many benefits for wellness, just like holistic wellness too.
You have that feeling of chilling, relaxing, maybe some healing, maybe some kind of connections, learning about yourself, and it makes you want to eat good food. Can't beat that.
I grew up in a very urban environment. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, and I did have access to the outdoors and going on trips and just being in a forest or in someone's backyard and always collecting things and building things.
I'm a city kid, so my relationship with nature was really just seeing a couple of trees on the sidewalk. I'm Mel Geraldo. I am the co-coordinator here at Cooper Street Community Garden in Bushwick, Brooklyn. I learned about Brown Girls Climb through Brittany when we met here in the garden. Interestingly enough, we were working together before I even learned that she was an executive director of this organization. So I think I have a different perspective of Brown Girls Climb than some of the other people who know Brittany. And really it's as an outsider looking in at something that's very beautiful that's been created. It reminds me of what we do here in this space, making people feel welcome, making people feel seen, making people feel like this is where they should be. And I think Brown Girls Climb is no different.
It makes me feel a way of healing. It's always been a space for me to just like lay down a lot of my burdens, or an environment where I maybe have never felt like seen or comfortable, and nature has always been that like space for that. Being in nature, I don't know, brings out just like the calmness in me.
Like many immigrant families, we didn't go outside. I think there's this connotation of like being safe inside. Being safe means like being inside, being in shelter. I think the closest to recreating was like to fishing for my father, and like gardening. So I think that was something that it wasn't about like climbing big mountains or rock climbing. That was never on the radar. So I didn't discover it until college.
So my name is Helen. I use they, them pronouns, and I've been a member of Brown Girls Climb for about 2 years now. I love nature. I didn't grow up loving nature though. I'm a kid of immigrants. They were like, we did not come to this country to be laying on the ground or be up in nature like that. So I grew up kind of being like, all right, I don't need to really be out here with the bugs and the dirt. But getting older and just learning how to appreciate, like, wow, maybe I would have never seen this area that I'm in right now if I didn't take a chance on nature and appreciating it. It just blows my mind.
I actually started climbing through a Groupon like pass that I found online, and I went with a couple of friends. And you know, growing up, I wasn't like super active, but I like to do things. And I was like, this is the activity for me. Like, wow, I love to be able to move my body in a way that almost feels like a dancey way. It's about like coordination, and so it was like a really interesting way to incorporate dance and like problem solving. So I really thought that was a fascinating way to like move your body. And so I got really hooked.
Climbing is not something that I ever thought I would do. There's not that much representation. And when you look at the sport or activity of climbing, there's fewer and fewer people of color and few women of color.
I often go through this world trying to find community and trying to find people that help me feel more like myself. And part of that happens through just like general human connection. Some of it is identity based and having people that really understand me and what I've gone through and where I'm from. Yeah, and being able to like find folks that I can connect with outside of just where I'm from and who I know. Be able to connect through movement and wanting to be outside and wanting to like meet people and also share the knowledge of climbing with other people. It's like a really big deal.
I quickly got introduced to outdoor climbing, and because there were some folks that I was friendly with, and they're like, let's go outside. And I was like, okay, let's go. And I was quickly really enjoyed it, but got really overwhelmed. because it was, I love the people I climbed with, but it didn't feel comfortable in the sense that like they were welcoming or like felt like they were like, you could just do it, kind of that like New England hardcore kind of way to just like power through it. You have to suffer, and that's having fun, which is kind of like our interesting old school mentality about climbing, is like to have fun while you're climbing is to suffer, which is not like realistic for a lot of people. So I thought it was fun, and then I was really interested in finding like a core group of friends that I felt comfy and safe with in climbing.
I think climbing is a scary thing. There's a reason why we don't see a lot of us doing it, because there aren't folks that look like us that are able to say, hey, this is safe, this is how to be safe, and this is what safety looks like for people like us. With climbing, part of the beauty of it is that it's truly at your own pace. So you can go up 60 feet, you can also go up 1 foot, and that's an accomplishment, that's a big deal. And so being able to find what feels most comfortable with you, with your body, and also what you feel like challenging yourself too. I think the beauty of it is that you can push as hard as you want, and also there will be people there to cheer you on, no matter what your goal is. And so take advantage of that. Take advantage of the community that comes with it. That'll be like, yeah, you got it, push. And the folks that'll be like, you did a great job.
My name is Ate Tori Cervantes, and I'm a rock climbing guide with Rise Outside. When we think about safety, rock climbing, specifically when we're rock climbing outside, we're considering the environment that we're in. So we have rock falls, we have ground that is uneven, we have ropes that are more dynamic. So we are working with a really much more dynamic environment. So we think about safety, both indoor and outdoor, is we think about how we're entering a space in which we can have a very good time and a really fun time, but we have to be conscious of not just ourselves, but each other and also the environment.
I was really heavily in the backpacking and trail community. I was also trying to find a groove and finding other connections in the climbing space. And when Betty DM'd me, it was like a light switch of like, oh my goodness, this is so cool, someone's doing this. And also kind of at the time, helping me refine my love in the climbing space. And just went, not only me, but with all our co-founders, there's 10 of us, literally just DM'd us, because we all had a role in the outdoor space at the time, whether we were guides, instructors, program managers.
I didn't know what Brown Girls Climb was necessarily, but I saw something in my local gym at the time, which was the Cliffs climbing facility in Long Island City. And I saw a flyer for this organization called Brown Girls Climb, and they also had an app. And so I downloaded the app just to check it out and see what it was about. And then I realized and figured out that this was an organization that was geared towards getting more women of color and femme identifying folks into climbing and getting them outdoors. And so it has been definitely a beacon of light and hope in this now my climbing community, and just access to education, to volunteer opportunities, to different events around the city and beyond the city, throughout the world and throughout the nation for climbing.
It's when I see all the work that Brown Girls Climb is leading and all the work that they're doing in the community, it makes me want to get more involved as well. And for me, it's been really just motivating and inspirational in my own work and leading an organization that's all about getting kids outside, mostly Black and brown kids. And just my personal experience, when I see all the work that Brown Girls Climb is leading and all the work that they're doing in the community, it makes me want to get more involved as well.
And I think people don't understand what the term affinity group means. Affinity group doesn't always mean like race. It also means a level of like a connection of like of an experience. So a veteran group is an affinity group. So oftentimes there's like veteran hikes or like climbing groups, or maybe a parent group or adoptee group. So there's other ways to showcase like what an affinity space or organization can be. But oftentimes, if people look at it in like one light, with our organization, we're not just also thinking about race, we're also thinking about socioeconomic status, because everyone comes from different backgrounds. We're thinking about family ties and things like that. And so oftentimes people will look at it at one perspective versus like not understanding we're working like in multiple different pockets of perspectives as well. It goes beyond just climbing. Because we're an organization that also recognizes climbing isn't everything within our community, that everyday life is real. So recognizing that getting outside and getting connected is important and part of the organization, but it also goes so much further.
Well, we took a class together. It was intro to top roping. So we did like a trial. It was like 7-day thing. Like I think after the 7 days, we just got hooked and we just continued. And we're gonna be approaching 3 years in November.
I'm gonna be going to a crag area called Peter Skills. It's in the Gunks area, and so we're specifically going to be doing top roping. So that means that we are going to set anchors. Oftentimes there's many different ways you can set anchors. What we are going to do tomorrow is actually set natural anchors. So I'm going to be bringing a static rope and I will set those up. I would say maybe 10 years ago back in the day, that was like the pinpoint go-to of like climbing is considered just like a white dude sport. So I think we are showing up and taking up more space within the climbing space, which I think is really great.
My name is Kristen Billings. I am from PG County, Maryland, and I am a member with Brown Girls Climb. When I go to some of the different indoor rock climbing facilities, you really don't see people like myself. You might see a sprinkle. So being part of this community, it just kind of made me feel like I belong. It's really nice getting to see Black and brown women coming into this space and being like, hey, we belong here too, and we can, rock climb, and it's not just for a certain type of people, it's for everybody.
Also knowing that it's expanded into so much more, and not only expanded to new voices, but also have uplifted folks who have been doing this before us. Like Harriet Tubman, who used the Appalachian Mountain Ways to free slaves. And by being able to understand, like using the Appalachian Mountain Ways, that also means like understanding how to read the rock, how to read the stars, how to understand herbal medicine.
Climbing in general, though, it reminds me of being back to when I was a kid, and I was more tomboyish. So I used to climb trees, as a kid, even though my mom didn't want me to, but I really enjoyed it. And so doing rock climbing, it kind of brings me back to that inner child, that loved climbing things.
Chelsea Griffey, who's not only my idol in the climbing, but also in the outdoor education space in general. She was one of the first Black women to actually climb the face of El Cap. And that was only in the 2000s, like 2008 or so. And then also recognizing Abby Dion, who was the first Black woman to own a climbing gym.
I would say to someone who has some curiosity but hesitation for the outdoors, I would say that you could start small and you could go to community gardens if you're in a city. It's about finding the lowest like point of access, within whatever context you're in.
I encourage many people to push through the fear of not being accepted, the fear of not seeing yourself in spaces like these.
There's so many reasons why you should experience nature. It is so good for you mental health wise.
The beauty of nature can show up in any different form, and to not feel intimidated or not feel like you need to go out into the great beyond just to experience nature, that sometimes it could be close to home.
It could be a community garden. It could just be going near the water in, downtown Brooklyn. It could be just be sitting on your front lawn and looking at grass and just taking the time to reflect and pay attention.
There's something to do outside, and in my opinion, the outdoors makes it better because you just feel relieved. Nature takes you however you're showing up that day. It's a space of healing, it's a space of processing, it's a place to just chill and vibe out. And you always just take something from your time being in nature. You might learn something new, you might learn something about yourself, have different experiences, whatever it might be. It's just kind of everything.
now more than ever, nature needs us. So I think that's really important. And the fact that we're experiencing such intense climate change, we as individuals may not have a significant, we do have an impact on nature, but let's be able to do our part in taking care of it so that we can recreate, so that we can enjoy it, and make sure that it's not just for a subsection of people that get to enjoy it, that everybody gets to enjoy it.
I urge everyone to push through it, because once you do, you'll be so surprised, you'll be so accepted, and you'll feel the love. So I say it's scary, but it's so worth pushing through that fear to become a part of something much bigger and special.
Yeah, it's an amazing organization. I'm really grateful to be able to support it. I think that the ability to go to a different state or a different place and be able to connect with the Brown Girls Climb Network is really important, and leaves a lot of room for not just building community, but also exploring what your community has to offer in terms of the nature, in terms of the crags and the places that are around. So yeah, I'm just really grateful for it and all the connections that it's helped me make. And hopefully it keeps pushing through years and years past me. So
for the future of Brown Girls Climb, I would say one thing is being able to retain more funding to be able to longevity to keep our organization going. And I think with that longevity helps us create more outdoor programs and workshops. So it all kind of ties in together with what the future looks like.